It is crazy to think that we live in the United States of America this day and age. A doctor writing a prescription is then up for debate by somebody with a non-medical background. On August 11th, I was written a prescription for Manjaro. I said, okay. He says, real expensive, but we've got this manufacturer's coupon. At that time, the coupon was like gold. That coupon said whether your insurance approves a medication or denies it, you get that medication for $25. I feel very, very grateful to be an influencer in GLP-1 category because I know that I'm able to share my experience and help people. Today I want to talk about insurance companies. I want to talk about the fights, arguments, and it is all of the above. It is crazy to think that we live in the United States of America this day and age, and a doctor writing a prescription is then up for debate by somebody with a non-medical background. That's where we need to start. If you're just listening to this, my name's Jennifer. I live in Austin, Texas. I'm 47 years old, and I went on a journey to get healthy. I lost 108 pounds from a size 22 down to a size 0. I am grateful that I have insurance, but the fight that I had was absolutely crazy and unnecessary. To understand completely, you would have to start at the beginning, and that's what I'm going to do. So, in the end of 2021, I was diagnosed with fatty liver. My doctor was concerned. He said, Jennifer, you're right at 225 pounds. You have got to, of course, the whole move more, eat less, calorie deficit, make sure you stay nice and hydrated, maybe join a gym is what I was told. That those are common things that we hear from the providers that we go to because that's, ultimately that's what works for most people that don't have things inside their body that are causing obesity. So he did give me a referral to endocrinology. I did go to endocrinology. Then I went to rheumatology. I bounced around from doctor to doctor, hundreds of dollars worth of co-pays in a 6-month period just to get the answer of move more, eat less. Your blood work looks fine. These numbers are elevated, but that's because you're overweight. I mean, it's just the same old song and dance. And I finally just got to the point where I told my doctor, I said, I can't do this anymore. My knees hurt, my back hurts. I'm 5 foot tall. I'm not eating uncontrollably. I don't have any, closet eating disorders, I would tell you at this point. On the verge of tears, basically begging for help. My doctor, very nice, just said, I just don't know where else to go from here. Have you ever thought about maybe Weight Watchers? Right. So, okay, I knew that my road with him at that time was, all right, have a good day type. Yeah, what do you do? So I went home, I felt defeated. He sent me home with a prescription for metformin. What a nasty, nasty medication. Some people have been on it for years. One lady in my live stream last night, she said she's had a career with metformin. She's been on it almost 20 years. And I know why doctors push that medication. It's cheap. It's cheap. Don't have to get insurance to cover that one. Get a 90-day supply for less than $20. Why would they not push it, right? Okay. It's a horrible, horrible thing on your body. Absolutely horrible. And over long periods of time, I found out the other day from a friend of mine who's a doctor that said, it can contribute to kidney disease. Like, wow. Wow, that blew my mind. But, one of the most common drugs prescribed in the United States, I would believe. Anyway, I was on metformin for a couple of years. Uncontrollable diarrhea, headaches, nausea, dry mouth, fatigue, dizzy spells. Terrible. I felt awful all the time, but it's okay. Like I took the medication like I was supposed to. I still did my 2 miles a day and walking, and it took me about a year, but I was able to lose 50 pounds. But I was literally killing myself. I was overdoing it left and right. I joined a gym, did kickboxing, hurt myself, both places. I'm too heavy to be doing the things that I was doing, but I was desperate. I was trying to get this weight off of me. Inflammation out of control. My joints were hurting so bad. And again, doctor. So On August the 11th, 2022, I went to see my doctor and said, I am no longer taking the metformin. It's been about 4 days. I can't handle it anymore. The diarrhea, the headaches were real bad. Within 30 minutes of taking the medication, my head was pounding. The dizzy spells, sometimes, I'd be standing up, walking a patient back, and it was everything I could do to not grab the wall. It's almost like you get up too fast. It happened all the time. And I shared that with the providers that were, in my network at that time. And they were like, yeah, unfortunately it can happen. You might just want to, make sure that you get up slower or, okay. Anyways, on August 11th, I was written a prescription for Manjaro. My doctor looked at me and he said, look, it's, supposed to be better than Ozempic. I don't even know what Ozempic is. And then he explained it to me, type 2 diabetes medication. But, obviously it can be written off label for other things. And he said, but due to your fasting labs, you're like a 105, 107. At that time, my A1C, I believe, was at a 6.5 or 6.7. So he said, but you're not going to get your insurance to cover, I'm not going to be able to get your insurance to cover this. But the beautiful thing about it right now is that they have a manufacturer's rebate coupon, probably trying to, give access to the medication so people can try it. I said, okay. He says, real expensive, but we've got this manufacturer's coupon. At that time, the coupon was like gold. The OG savings card. That coupon said whether your insurance approves the medication or denies it, meaning prior authorization approval or not, you get that medication for $25, which means you can use that savings card once a month or 12 times a year. You get 12 fills a year. So if you refill it every 23 days, then you're, probably, use all 12 of those probably before November. So I was like, oh God, a year. So I said, okay. So I go fill it. Of course, I'm in tears on the phone with my mom and I'm like, God, how did this happen to me? I'm going from a pill to now I have to inject myself. She said, it's okay. It's okay. And that's where it started. Side effect city. Side effect city. When I first started on the medication, I was so excited, so optimistic. It wasn't so much, I had no idea the amount of weight, you were projected to lose or anything about the clinical trial research. Really all I knew is that the medication was similar to Ozempic, and all I heard about Ozempic the next 4 or 5 days on social media was how sick people were. Doing your injection and clearing your schedule for 3 or 4 days so you have time to, be sick. I was scared. So as I started to research it and look into it a little bit further, it started to sound a little bit better. Avoid fried food, low carbohydrates. Try to, maximize your protein to maintain muscle mass. All these wonderful tips, and I used them. I did. I made it biblical at that point. So if it said to jump this high, this is what I did. All right. And still ended up with every side effect. And it seemed like I was so much sicker than everybody else, but I was posting it. Most people don't, right? As an influencer, people reach out to me in this and they say, I know you don't give medical advice or whatever, but I need your help. Every time I do my injection, I'm vomiting. What does your doctor say? Well, I have a call into my doctor, but nobody's called me back since Tuesday. Here we are, Monday of the next week. I don't think it's medical advice to tell someone to stop taking the medication until they consult with their physician, because throwing up multiple times a day for days on end, it's not healthy. It's not healthy. I don't think that doctors have the time, because of the way that the patients are booked these days, to sit down and handhold. I feel very, very grateful to be an influencer in GLP-1 category, because I know that I'm able to share my experience and help people. And that's what's important. People are on these medications and they don't have anyone. Like, whether they choose to do this in secret or they don't know anybody that's going through it. The ability that we have to be able to talk to people openly and share our journeys. It's amazing. It's wonderful. because there's so many people out there that need a good point of reference. We're not, it's not medical advice. It's based on my own journey, what worked for me. People literally reach out to me and say, "You saved me. I was literally going to stop this medication. Not only am I down another 25, 35, 55 pounds, I'm not sick. I'm not worried about driving to work without having a dizzy spell. Or I'm not," and that's rewarding. It's rewarding to them too. I've had people's spouses reach out to me and say, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know, thank you. My wife was scrolling through TikTok, saw your live stream. We had a little bit of an argument because I was a little bit nervous about the medications because I wasn't familiar with them. But she started the medication and she's 4 months in and she's lost 50 pounds and she feels great. And I just want to say thank you for sharing that information that night. And you're welcome. You're welcome. Because when I started, the FDA had only approved this medication, 60 days before? The amount of people on TikTok that were actually like talking about this medication, there was literally no more than 10. No more than 10. I stand on that. We didn't really have anybody. The people that we identified with were the people on Ozempic. And that is scary because the amount of people that are on the brand Ozempic, they are a lot sicker than people on Mounjaro, and that's my personal opinion. But as somebody that's been on this medication for 27 months and been an influencer in this category for that long, I have helped far more people on Ozempic than I have on Mounjaro. Tirzepatide, semaglutide. Semaglutide's tough. It's tough. But it seems to be the brand, right? The brand is the one that makes most people sick. Could be the additives, preservatives, fillers, who knows? The relationships that you have with your doctors and your nurse practitioners and things like that can be great. They can be the best. They still don't have time or things typed up in advance to give you when they write a prescription, what to expect, what not to expect, what is a normal side effect, what is not. A lady reached out to me and she said, "Man, I've been on this medication for 3 months and I've already lost almost 30 pounds, but my doctor is pulling me off of it." I said, "Oh no, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to hear that." And she said, "Yeah," she said, "I keep getting these whelps on my legs when I inject." And I just paused because me too. It happens to a lot of people. Not every time, but it's pretty common. I think if more information was shared about these medications across the board, more people would be successful. One of the most important things to remember on this journey, if you're somebody who's starting this journey, is what I didn't know in the beginning is stuff that I learned through my journey by process of elimination. So if you don't have all the tools and you don't know the tips and tricks, don't stress yourself out. Don't put yourself in a position that a lot of people do, and they get super upset. They get worried. They get freaked out. They talk themselves into certain situations because they don't know how to fix it. Remember that not losing weight on a weekly basis is okay. It's okay. Not being on one of these medications, you're not always going to see weight loss every single week. People will message me and they're like, "Well, I'm on week 2 of the medication and I haven't lost any weight." And I'm like, okay. So yeah, the added pressure of what to eat, what not to eat, what time to eat, how much to eat, all of these things, it is overwhelming for a lot of people. Here's what you need to know. Here's what I didn't know. When you're on these medications, the reason you need to make sure you get enough protein, first of all, so you feel full longer. That's how GLP-1 works, right? Delays gastric emptying so that you feel full longer periods of time. It's important. That's how it works. The reason also that you want to do protein is that you maintain muscle mass. Whenever you lose weight, you lose muscle. Trying to minimize the amount. Also, your hair. People are saying, I don't really want to do those medications because I don't want to lose my hair. If you want to lose weight and you're going to lose weight more than a couple pounds a month, you're going to lose some hair. You're going to lose some hair. It's unfortunate, but the majority of people lose some hair. There's things you can do to offset it. And I talk about this all the time too. You can take, there's all kinds of, hair vitamins and serums and Viviscal. There's a lot of products, but mainly just keep up with your protein. Protein plays a vital role, well, several different vital roles inside the body when you're on these medications. Staying hydrated, fibrous vegetables, green vegetables. That's why when I talk about my live streams, I'm like, it's not that I don't love sweet potatoes and carrots and things of this nature. There's a lot of sugar. Yeah, okay, natural sugar. But you're trying to lose weight, but you're trying to feel better too. So when you put a bunch of sugar and carbohydrates in your body, not only do they not work well in combination with these medications, they don't. They also, they don't give you this satiety. They don't go the distance. So green vegetables are going to be the answer because they're very high in fiber, which is going to help with bowel movements and things like that. They're also, I feel more energetic. I feel better when I eat what I call clean. Or another thing, people always say, well, okay, why GLP-1? Why GLP-1? Why can't people, try other forms of therapy? I guarantee you that those people have tried other forms of therapy. I know I did. I exhausted everything, anything and everything. Your fight is with your insurance. That's where your fight is. Insurance companies don't want to cover these medications because they're expensive. Regardless of how much you've paid into your insurance plan and how much of a deductible you've paid, they don't want to cover it. They don't. So they will use any little thing to offset, push you away. And sometimes I think they just hope that you don't come back. They're like, well, she's good, bye, see ya. They don't want to pay for it. And that's sad. It's sad for a lot of people. When I started on these medications, like I said earlier, August 11th. And I did all the things. I did all the tips and tricks. I was patient. Instead of giving up, which a lot of people do, I talked to somebody last night. I'm not taking the medication anymore. I stopped on the 10th of October. Oh no, what happened? Constipated. Anxiety of not being able to go to the restroom. I get it. Did you contact your doctor? Have you tried stool softeners? Yeah, they told me the best thing to do was just to stop the medication if I was, unable to get the situation handled. People not advocating for themselves, people giving up on themselves because we don't have the proper information out there. But then when somebody gets on social media and helps people with what's going on inside their body, not giving medical advice, telling you what I did, sharing what I did in hopes that you can take something from it and it helps you, we get attacked. Not just me. UGC creators, influencers, normal Joes, we get attacked. And it's not by the doctors and the nurses and the medical professionals, right? It's never them. It's by the people who have no dog in the fight. Crazy. Anyway, I went through all the steps and I hit my goal January of 2023. So it was 4 months, 3 weeks. And I lost 54 pounds, which brought me down to 114 pounds loss. I went from a size 22 down to a size 0. The way people treated me was offensive. Let me say that again. The way that people treated me was offensive. When I say that, people go, what? Yeah. Walking into HEB, my daughter had, COVID. It was her second time having it. First time she had it, she was still living in Kentucky. She called me and she said, Mom, I was just diagnosed with COVID. I said, oh, great. She said, I got to come stay there. And my first thought was, let me get you a hotel room, right? None of us want to get it again. But of course, we just masked up and gloved up and kept everything very sanitary. She stayed in her bedroom. I go into HEB. And I start talking to the lady behind the counter at the pharmacy. And I said, can you call somebody over here? I just want to see if there's anything that I can get, off the count, like off the shelf to help my daughter. She's got COVID, a lot of body aches. I gave her some ibuprofen, not enough. She won't, she doesn't need to go to the doctor and get like narcotic, pain meds, or none of that. Just wondering if there's something I can do for her a little bit better. And the lady said, yeah, let me get with the pharmacist. The pharmacist came out from around the corner, real nice. And she said, I know you from somewhere. And I, TikTok? She said, no. She said, I don't know. She said, have you been coming to this pharmacy for a long time? And I said, for years. And then it dawned on me that she knew Fat Jenny, right? Okay. So I pulled out my driver's license and I said, that's what I used to look like. And she goes, oh my gosh, yes. She said, the voice, the face, it looked familiar, but she said, until you said that and showed me, oh my God, you look terrific. Like, oh my gosh, what have you done? And I said, well, changed my eating completely, but, credit is due to Manjaro. And she goes, okay. She said, I don't know, one of her family members just started it, but very beginning. And she said she couldn't even believe the way that I looked and how wonderful, that I must feel and all of these things, blah, blah, blah. And then it dawned on me, I've never had a conversation with someone in a bigger body to where I actually felt like they were paying attention. Whenever I would have conversations with people, whether it be somebody helping me find something inside a retail store, I felt like they saw past me. You know what I'm saying? They weren't very engaging. And also, sometimes you can, view it as being rude. And it's not necessarily that they're being rude. It's just that when you carry yourself a certain way, it almost feels like you're allowing someone to treat you less than or a certain way. Because I have done all of the things that I have done to get where I'm at. And I'm talking about everything. I'm not just talking about cutting off unhealthy friendships and relationships. I'm talking about the dynamic of myself is on an all-time 100, because what I will tolerate or the bar that I set for people in my life is unequivocally a different version of myself. I'm not going to, whether they're family members or not, I'm not going to allow people to treat me just any kind of way anymore. Ever. My kids, when I first started, TikToking my journey, were mad. I remember my son calling me. He was on the school bus after school, and the baseball team was going to another school. And, you've got JV, varsity, all these baseball players, boys, and it's loud and all that stuff. My son calls me and he shows me one of his friend's phones. He goes, Mom. I go, yeah. And he goes, look. He said, look at Tyler's phone. And he pans the phone over and I see Tyler's phone and it's me with the latest video that I had made. And I start laughing and he said, this is so embarrassing. And I go, I'm sorry. And he goes, I wish you wouldn't post on TikTok. Gah. And he hung up on me. I had to deal with that inside my own house, right? Because here I am so proud of myself. And I got people in social media messaging me saying, oh my God, thank you so much. Not just because I'm not throwing up anymore, but because I set a boundary with my daughter, or because, people are talking to me in a different light, or I saw myself for the first time, or I was able to get the manufacturer's coupon, just like you said. Here, I'm being built up by all these people around me, thanking me, gracious, like beyond the point, it was just overflowing. But even at home, because my home was still sick, right? It was. My kids were embarrassed because I was on social media talking about weight loss. I was on social media talking about changes in constipation. the texture of this or changes in this. And my kids were just literally, and all of them. My daughter and I got into an argument right before she went back to school in Kentucky, and she said, "Don't you understand? Like, this is not going to be a job. Like, I know you don't have a lot of friends, but this is like, I mean, Mom, this is something for like teenagers. Like, I don't really know if you realize that or not, but it's really embarrassing the boys. Like, their friends at school are like bullying them and stuff." And I'm like, bullying them? Bullying them because their mom is on social media? Like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, how are they being bullied? Because I'm on social media talking probably to a lot of older women and men. Um, so I got off social media for a couple weeks. I talked to a coworker about it. I said, "I think this is affecting my relationship with my children." And she said, "Isn't that a shame? What led up to them not supporting you?" And I thought about it and I said, I really don't even know. Maybe they're embarrassed because I'm on there talking about constipation or sulfur burps or um, I don't really know. And she said, "Well, it could be an accumulative." Oh, of course, because I talk about everything. I'm very, very fluid, very vulnerable with people, right? I just, want to open up everything. I want to be supportive. I want you to know that if you're going through this journey by yourself, you're not going through it by yourself. Um, so, like I said, I took a step back for a couple weeks and I went, wait a minute, this is my life. Like, I love my children, but no. Um, but right before my daughter left to go back to Kentucky and we had this talk, one of the last things she said to me was, "I mean, you cheated anyway." Excuse me? You cheated anyway. You took a medication. I mean, that's kind of cheating. Like, it really is, Mom. Like, admit it. You cheated. And then a couple hours later, I didn't even respond. I just got tears in my eyes, walked to my room, and closed the door because I knew I would say something that I didn't want to say, that wasn't true, or it was through anger, frustration. A couple hours later, I get a phone call from my daughter, and I answer it, and she said, "Hey, Mom." She said, "I just want to call, apologize, and let you know that I love you, and I didn't mean what I said." And she said, I've had some time to think about it, and I didn't mean it because I was talking to a friend of mine and said, but I watch your mom every morning, and she goes out every morning and walks, I think, like 2 or 3 miles, right?" "Yeah." "She says she doesn't even drink soda anymore." "She doesn't." "Didn't she just join a gym?" "Yeah." "Okay." So I guess it was my daughter's friend that kind of opened her eyes a little bit to the fact that, hey, you know what? This medication is a tool, right? And so the relationships inside my home started to get healthy when I started to get healthy. So the relationships with my children were changing. My daughter was angry because I was, I guess, cheating, right? When she called me after she talked to her friend and she told me what her friend said, she said, "I should be proud of you. I should be proud of you. Really." And she said, "What is it? What is it in me that made me angry? Like, why was I not supportive, whether you were taking a medication or whether you were cheating or not? Why was I not supportive? Because you're happy, you're looking better, you're feeling better, your energy is better. Um, I don't understand. I don't understand why I was so the direct opposite of supportive. I'm so sorry." And I said, "Taylor, it's okay. I don't think it's cut and dry, honey. I don't think people understand how to treat you in a lot of circumstances or how to take you, right? Because your success sometimes threatens others. I'm not Fat Jenny anymore. I'm talking about it on social media. My kids had a problem with it. I remember specifically the days that it changed with each one of my children. Walking through the grocery store in Kentucky a place called Myers. One of my daughter's friends stopped us and she introduced me, but the person just said, "Oh, nice to meet you," and looked away. Fast forward, walking through the store in Austin with my daughter, a lady comes up to me and she said, "Hi, how are you?" And I said, I'm good. How are you?" And she looks at my daughter and she said, "Honey, I know that when your mom first went on this journey, it was really difficult for you. And I'm so glad that your mom now has your support." And my daughter was dumbfounded. She just stood there and she looked at me. And as we were walking away, she said, "You talked about that on social media?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Good job, Mom. Good job." Because I know that if I and me and you and I went through this, I know that somebody else is too. And so hopefully you talk about our relationship now. And I said, "Taylor, honey, of course, our relationship never changed. You just didn't know how to deal with what was going on with me because I've always been the same, sat in the box, right? I've always been the cookie cutter version of what you had for years and years and years." And she said, "Yeah, you're right. You're right. Your change, I just didn't know how to accept that," right? Okay, so my boys were the same. My boys went through the same thing. Um, I wouldn't say they were bullied, but they were teased. And at first it made them angry and it was embarrassing and all these things. And now, complete opposite. And sometimes they still get embarrassed. I stopped tagging Austin in a lot of my videos. I've moved on to tagging Texas, right? Um, Hopefully that'll help out a little bit. But my boys, at first they were a little bit weirded out. My older son, he's in Pensacola, so he's not here on the everyday with me. But my younger son, when we go places, they're like, "Hey," they're always really nice to my kids, people that stop me and things like that. But I get recognized a lot of places I go, but nobody's ever been mean. So I don't know why they've had such a hard time with it. But listen, now we have an area on social media where women that are 60 and 70 years old or 50 or 40, people who never even saw themselves are now making videos helping other people. It is amazing. It's amazing. Whenever I go on these like influencer trips or trips that other influencers are going on, whether it be a girls' trip, whether it be, something we coordinated ourselves, the people that I travel with, they're not all 25-year-olds. As a matter of fact, the majority of them are over the age of 40. Um, and you wouldn't even believe it if I told you the different walks of life they're from. We have some that work for the United States government. We have some that are stay-at-home moms, some that are retired. But these are women who are making money. They have brand deals. It's just amazing all the things that have opened up because you share your journey on social media. But the people that are in your immediate life, sometimes it can be an issue. They don't know how to deal with it. And it's not just about your success, right? It's about the fact that you took a medication that reduced things or fixed things inside your body that really gave you your life back. These medications, had they come out 20 years ago, my life would have looked a whole lot different. It would have changed the trajectory. But it's okay because I'm here now, right? But these medications are innovative, to say the least. So I hit my goal January 2023. I didn't see myself until the end of March. Like I said before, yeah, I was buying extra smalls and size zeros or double zeros and things like that, having to go to the little girls department. My shoe size was an 8, used to be a 9. I'm not blind. I was seeing it, but I wasn't seeing it. It wasn't here. People would say, "Oh," a couple times, "let me get by. Oh, you're so little. You're so tiny. You're so cute." Those words used to pierce me. I immediately used to go into like an internal rage, triggered by something probably in my past, but it used to, I thought I was being gaslit. I thought I was, it was a nice way of somebody making fun of you, but not just putting you down. And then I realized they're just going off what they see. It took a while, but then when I was finally able to start seeing myself, it made things a whole lot easier because the confidence boost was there. Um, and I knew how to accept myself. My mom would say things like, well, but your waist is so small. And I went, it is? My waist? People look at you in disbelief like, do you know what you look like? Like, are you okay? People expect you to be able to identify with what you look like right away. It takes a while. It takes quite a while. It's a process. There's so many different stages in this journey, and I believe that if you were to cut them out or, sidestep them or not go through them, you wouldn't be who you are when you come out of it. The feeling that you get from actually starting something and finishing something and you're able to accomplish it, that's it right there. That's what you want to share. That's what I want to share. I want people to experience what I went through, what I go through on a daily basis. This medication teaches you how to eat. When I say that, people go, what are you talking? How does it teach you how to eat? Because if you eat the wrong thing, you feel terrible. And it's not always diarrhea and vomiting. If you eat the wrong thing, you're not going to feel good. So you learn about how to make better choices or what works instead. I still make chili. I just use turkey. Or, there's certain things that you learn about yourself that you're able to stand up for now that you never were before. You have a voice. I never really had a voice before. I have a voice now. But yeah, there's struggles that you go through. But just know that it's character building. And you will come out on the other end winning in a sense. My relationships with my children are great. They've never been better. Right? Because they know what I stand for now. And they see the progress that I've made. I'm not cheating. Taking a medication to treat things inside my body, which previously contributed to the obesity, the morbid obesity that I was labeled. Taking a medication to make those internal things controlled or under control for the first time. It's not a shock anymore. When people ask me, are you planning on staying on this medication for the rest of your life? I attribute it to somebody who's got a terminal illness. When you're taking a medication to keep the illness at bay, when you stop taking that medication, what's going to happen? It's not about the regain of weight necessarily. The inflammation I was experiencing prior to taking this medication is enough of a reason to stay on this medication. It is. And I will figure out a way to afford it. God forbid my insurance stops paying for it. I will do whatever it takes to make sure that I stay on this medication. I don't ever want to feel the aches and pains and the burning sensation in my knees. I don't ever want to feel the inflammation. I don't. And if that means that I'm going to have to pay crazy amounts of money to stay on this medication, then I will. Final thoughts. Starting this medication August 11th and ending this medication as far as the weight loss January 11th. So exactly 5 months, but I hit my goal about 6 days before that, but you teeter-totter a little bit. Was the best decision I ever made in my life. It was. It was the best decision that I ever made because I love myself. Going through this journey gave me the tools to lose the weight, but it also gave me the tools to be whole, mind, body, soul. It gave me the tools to respond to people, to talk to people, to educate people, to share my experience, to help other people. I wouldn't change that for anything. Nothing. And I would be willing to go through it all over again if I thought that it would help one more person.